Ghost of Tsushima explained in 19 minutes or less. 3, 2, 1, go! Ghost of Tsushima is a fictional story that takes place in the real-life island of Tsushima in southern Japan. The game is set in the year 1274. The game begins with the main protagonist Jin Sakai and his uncle Lord Shimura at Komoda Beach. The beach is surrounded with Japanese soldiers and samurai. We see that the Mongol Empire has arrived at Komoda Beach with tens of hundreds of boats. We learn that their main goal is to take over Tsushima, then conquer all of mainland Japan. We meet Khotun Khan, the leader of the Mongol Empire. He's the cousin of the infamous Kublai Khan and the grandson of the even more infamous Genghis Khan. Khotun kills Harunobu Adachi and asks Shimura if he surrenders. When Shimura refuses, the Mongols shoot fire arrows and the war begins. Jin rides into battle and slays many Mongols on his way. After Jin is attacked and falls off his horse, he is about to die, but Shimura comes to his rescue. Jin and Shimura continue to make their way through the battlefield, but they are struck down by fire arrows. When Jin regains consciousness, he has an arrow through his back. He gets shot again. As he struggles to survive, he passes out. We now see Khotun approaching Shimura, who has been caught by the Mongols. Khotun once again asks if Shimura will surrender, but Shimura refuses. Khotun then strikes Shimura, supposedly killing him. Jin wakes up sometime later and appears to have been saved. He's very confused as to where he is and what's going on. Jin begins to walk around and finds a nearby village that is under Mongol attack. Jin finds his armor and weapons in a house and puts them on to fight the Mongols. As Jin is about to begin fighting, a woman named Yuna interrupts him. Yuna tells Jin that she saved him on Komoda Beach and she gains his trust by killing a Mongol in front of him. Yuna tells Jin that Shimura is alive and that the Mongols took him prisoner. She believes that he is being held at Castle Canada. Jin fights his way through the village and stumbles upon his katana. This triggers a flashback. Jin relives a flashback from his youth where Shimura is teaching him how to defend himself. Jin and Shimura are practicing using wooden sticks. Back in the present, Jin and Yuna make their way through the village and clear out the Mongols. Jin picks a horse which becomes his companion for most of the game. Jin and Yuna then travel to Castle Canada to try and save Shimura. They meet heavy Mongol presence. Jin makes his way through the Mongols and arrives at a bridge. There he comes face to face with Khotun. Jin and Khotun fight, but Khotun easily beats Jin. Jin falls off the bridge into a river and then the screen goes black. We flash back to a young Jin who is watching his father die. Jin watches his father die helplessly. We then see a young Jin with a lady named Yuriko on the day of Jin's father's funeral. As Jin walks to his father's grave, many people are there to give their condolences. Jin talks with Shimura. He blames himself for his father's death, but Shimura tells Jin that it is now his duty to protect his father's legacy and the Sakai clan. Back in the present, Jin washes up on a beach. Hopeless, Jin talks to himself and asks his father for advice. Suddenly we see wind guiding Jin along. We meet up again with Yuna. Jin explains that he tried to save his uncle but that he failed. Jin vows to protect the island. Yuna and Jin prepare an army to fight against the Mongols and go their separate ways. Jin meets up with Yuna again. Yuna informs him that she heard of Mongols taking a blacksmith to a prison camp. Yuna believes it is her brother. Jin agrees to save him with her. Jin and Yuna make it to the prison camp. They survey it for weak points. Yuna tells Jin that they need to infiltrate the camp stealthily. Jin explains that he can't do that because he's a samurai and lives by a code of honor. Yuna convinces Jin to bend his code in order to save both their families. They wait until nightfall to strike. Jin sneaks up behind a Mongol and stabs him in the back. This triggers another flashback. We relive another flashback to a young Jin and Shimura out hunting in the woods. They are chasing a bear. As they inspect the bear's carcass, an assassin from Yarikawa sneaks up on them and slashes Shimura. Shimura slashes him back, which critically injures him. Shimura instructs Jin to take the man's life with honor, as that is the way of the samurai. Jin kills the man, giving him his first taste of what it takes to be a samurai. As Jin and Yuna fight through the camp, Jin rescues a straw hat. As Jin, Yuna, and the straw hat make their way to the river for safety, the straw hat explains that there are other straw hats, who are basically a militia group, are running low on food, and that they will help Jin with his cause if he can provide them with food. Once they reach the river, the straw hat informs them that Taka is alive in Azamo Bay. We are redirected to Castle Canada, where Khotun is talking to an imprisoned Shimura. Khotun threatens Shimura that he will hunt down Jin and kill him if he does not surrender the island, but Shimura firmly says no. Later on, Jin meets up with Yuna again, and we are introduced to Kenji, a merchant and renowned sake brewer. Yuna recruits Kenji in order to save Taka. The plan is to infiltrate Azamo Bay by riding in on Kenji's merchant cart, while Kenji gets the Mongols drunk. It's the perfect distraction. As Kenji distracts the Mongols, Jin and Yuna sneak through the town and follow the Mongol slave leader. Eventually they find Taka and rescue him. The trio sneak out of Azamo Bay and meet up with Kenji at a crossroads. They then travel to a hillside overlooking the island. Their next plan of attack is to take back the Komatsu Forge, where Taka can make tools for Jin to scale Castle Kanda and free his uncle. As Jin continues his journeys around Tsushima, he encounters Sensei Ishikawa, Tsushima's best and most feared archer. Ishikawa explains that one of his students has gone missing. Jin agrees to help Ishikawa find a student if he agrees to save his uncle from the Mongols. As they look for the student, Ishikawa shows Jin how to use the half bow, and Jin receives the bow in order to use while fighting the Mongols. Jin and Ishikawa raid a nearby fort, only to realize that the student named Tomoe joined forces with the Mongols and is now teaching them the way of the bow. Upon learning this, Ishikawa agrees to help Jin rescue Shimura as long as Jin helps him find Tomoe. Ishikawa is now part of Jin's army. As Jin continues his journeys, He meets Lady Masako. She is the widow of Harunobu, the warrior that was slain by Kotun at the beginning. We come to learn that the rest of her family has been slain as well, and she is the sole survivor. She is hell-bent on getting revenge. Masako takes Jin to a nearby cemetery where her slain family lies. Jin realizes the true extent of the Mongol Empire's ruthlessness here. Jin and Masako reach the Golden Temple, which becomes a safe haven for Jin for the rest of the game. Jin talks to a monk named Sogen, who Masako believes had something to do with her family's murder. Jin and Masako trail Sogen to see if he is innocent or not. They trail Sogen to an inn, where they overhear him talking to bandits about how he has been caught. Masako realizes he had something to do with the death of her family, so she and Jin kill the bandits and Sogen. Now that Jin has gained her trust, she agrees to help him get Shimura back. She is now part of Jin's army. As Jin continues his adventures, he meets Ryuzo, leader of the Straw Hats. Jin and Ryuzo are old friends. Jin asks Ryuzo if he can help him save Shimura, and Ryuzo is reluctant to agree since his men are starving. Jin agrees that Shimura will provide the Straw Hats with whatever they want once he is freed. Ryuzo agrees. As Jin and Ryuzo ride onto the Straw Hat base, they reminisce about the samurai tournament from a year earlier. This is the tournament where the two face off in the finale, and Jin ultimately won, making him samurai. Ryuzo is still salty about this. At the base, Ryuzo gives Jin a Straw Hat outfit. Ryuzo agrees to help Jin as long as he gets the Straw Hats some food. Jin agrees. Jin's first task with the Straw Hats is to raid Fort Ohira in search of food. They defeat the Mongols at the fort, only to realize the food isn't being stashed there, but on the Mongol ships in the bay. Jin and Ryuzo survey the bay and think of a game plan. Jin and Ryuzo sneak into the bay as the Straw Hats distract the Mongols and make it onto the Mongol ship. They begin searching for food. Jin and Ryuzo jump from boat to boat looking for food, but they end up finding nothing. Even though they don't find the food, they find Mongol supply routes. Jin exchanges the plants to Ryuzo and gets Ryuzo and the Straw Hats help at Castle Canada. They are now part of Jin's army. As Jin continues his travels, he meets up with Yuna and Taka at Komatsu Forge. Jin and Yuna eliminate the Mongols from the town, and in return Taka gives Jin a grappling hook that he can use to scale Castle Canada in order to save his uncle. We are now taken to Castle Canada, where Kotun is explaining to Shimura that his men are dying in peculiar ways. Kotun is trying to tell Shimura that Jin is straying from the samurai path, but Shimura refuses to believe him. Later on, Jin and Ryuzo travel to Fort Yatate to rescue some imprisoned Straw Hats. Jin's army grows slightly bigger. Jin rides back to Komatsu Forge and meets up with Yuna. The next day at Castle Canada, Kotun is threatening Shimura by telling him that he will take over Castle Shimura in the northern part of Tsushima. This upsets Shimura gravely. A few hours later, all of Jin's army except Ryuzo and the Straw Hats show up to Castle Canada to help Jin. Their plan is to infiltrate the castle and save Shimura. Jin says he will use his grappling hook to get in and get the sneak on the Mongols. Jin uses the grappling hook and makes it into the castle. Jin and his crew make their way through the courtyard, taking out dozens of Mongols along the way. Jin arrives at a locked gate. He goes through a small opening in a nearby fence. Jin sees Ryuzo sitting by a small pond. Ryuzo explains that Kotun put a bounty on Jin's head. Ryuzo says that he has to claim it because his men are starving, and as their leader, he has to take care of them. Ryuzo officially betrays Jin and is now fighting alongside Kotun and the Mongols. Jin and Ryuzo engage in an epic standoff. After some time fighting, Jin heavily wounds Ryuzo. Before Jin has a chance to finish him off, Mongol reinforcements arrive. Jin continues to slaughter the Mongol guards and eventually reaches the room where Shimura is being held. He saves him. Jin, Shimura, and the allies keep fighting until Castle Canada is cleared of the Mongols and reclaimed by the samurai. 2 days later, up in the north of the island, Kotun and the Mongols have overtaken Castle Shimura, which was Shimura's old home. To prove to Kotun that he is truly on his side, Ryuzo is forced to burn the prisoners alive. This shows the extent of his betrayal. Back at Castle Canada, Jin and Shimura talk about their plans to take back Castle Shimura and defeat the Khan and Ryuzo. Shimura tells Jin that he heard about his new military tactics and that the people of Tsushima have given him a new name, the Ghost. Shimura tells Jin that he can't continue down his path and that he must continue fighting with honor like a true samurai. Shimura promises Jin that he will allow Yuna and Taka safe passage to the mainland once the war is over. Jin and Shimura travel to Fort Ito. They take out the Mongols and reclaim it. Yuna talks about recruiting the people of her hometown, Yarikawa, to join the rebellion. Shimura states that the people of Yarikawa hate him for his past actions and that they'll never fight alongside him. Yuna promises to recruit the people as long as she and Taka can go to the mainland. Jin meets up with a monk named Norio. Norio explains that the Mongols killed his brother and he wants revenge. Jin agrees and Norio is now part of his army. Jin travels to Umugi Cove to meet a pirate named Goro. First off, Jin meets Lady Sanjo. She takes him to Goro. Jin tells Goro to go to the mainland and asks the shogun to send in more samurai reinforcements to fight the Mongols. Goro owes Shimura for past favors, so Goro agrees even though he has no choice. Jin rides back to Shimura to tell him that Goro has agreed. Jin and Shimura devise a plan to distract the Mongol forces, allowing Goro to escape. Jin and Shimura ride to Fort Mitodake. They instruct Goro to begin sailing once they storm the fort and create a distraction. They attack the fort, allowing Goro to escape. They make their way through the fort and reclaim it. At the top of the fort, Jin finds a hwacha, a machine that shoots flaming arrows. Jin uses the hwacha to shoot at the Mongol ships in the bay, allowing Goro to escape to the mainland. When Jin and Shimura meet up, Shimura tells Jin that he has asked the shogun for permission to formally adopt Jin as his son. Shimura tells him that once the war is over, it will be official and Jin will become the heir to Shimura's throne. As Jin continues his travels around Tsushima, he meets up with Yuna at Yarikawa. Yuna and Taka tell Jin that the Mongols have surrounded the town. They make a plan to get rid of the Mongols, hoping that in return the people of Yarikawa will help them take back Castle Shimura. Yuna and Taka reminisce of old memories as they ride on. The three evade the Mongols and enter Yarikawa through a secret tunnel that Yuna and Taka use as children. They make it into the town. The people of Yarikawa aren't too fond of Jin since he's related to Shimura, but once they realize he's the ghost, they agree to help him. Jin talks to Ujimasa, the leader of the Yarikawa clan. The bad blood between them resurfaces, but Yuna eases the tension. Jin and Ujimasa do not reach a conclusion. Later that week, Jin meets up with Yuna again. Taka comes too, even though Yuna doesn't want him to because it's too risky. The three go on the lookout for some rogue archers who they believe can help them fight off the Mongols. The three find Daikoku, one of the archers. The rest of his group has been captured. The four wait until nighttime to raid the nearby Mongol camp and save the archers. Jin and Taka ambush the Mongols and the gang saves the archers. Yuna talks to Jin and says she doesn't want Taka joining them anymore since he isn't trained to fight and she is scared that he will get killed. The next day, Jin meets up with Taka back at Yarikawa. They talk about the upcoming battle of Yarikawa, hoping to drive the Mongols out of the region. Afterwards, Jin meets up with Yuna. They drink lots of sake and talk about their pasts. Later that night, the Mongols try invading Yarikawa. The battle has commenced. Jin, Yuna, and the people of Yarikawa fight back. Jin goes up to the hill to take out the Mongol weapon, shooting fireballs and fire arrows onto the town. Jin returns back to the town and faces off against General Temuge, the man leading the fight for the Mongols. Jin defeats General Temuge, and it seems that the Mongols have either retreated or have all been defeated. Yarikawa is now safe. Jin has a powerful speech that puts aside the bad history and encourages the people of Yarikawa to fight alongside him. Back at Castle Shimura, Kotun is trying to convince Ryuzo to take out Jin. Ryuzo agrees. Now that Yarikawa is safe, Jin continues his travels. He travels back home to take the Sakai clan armor his father once wore. At the estate, Jin meets up with Yuriko. Yuriko talks about the estate and asks Jin how he's doing. Jin then visits the family cemetery to pay his respects. After, Jin goes back in and finds his father's old armor. He puts it on. Jin and Yuriko go down by the river and sit next to the infamous red tree. Jin asks if Yuriko can craft the poison that would kill the Mongols. Yuriko is shocked to hear this since poison has never been the samurai way. Jin justifies his actions by saying it's the only way to take out an army as big as the Mongols. Jin crafts a blowgun, picks some leaves, and lets Yuriko craft the poison. He tests it out on some straw hats and is absolutely lethal, making the victim throw up blood. Sometime later, Jin meets up with Shimura at his camp. Shimura tells Jin to go out and find Ryuzo and take him out. Jin asks for Yuna's help, but she declines. She wants to go to the mainland. This means Taka is going with her. Jin travels to Fort Koyosan to find Ryuzo. When he arrives, Taka shows up and startles him. Jin thought Taka was leaving, but he promises to help him out one last time. Taka distracts the Mongols while Jin infiltrates the fort. Jin fights his way through and finds Ryuzo. As Jin and Ryuzo are about to fight, a peasant sneaks up on Jin and takes him out. Sometime later, we see Jin and Taka tied up. They try to escape, but Kotun shows up. Kotun tries to get Jin to give up, but Jin simply won't. Kotun cuts Taka's restraints off and forces him to kill Jin. Taka tries to surprise Kotun by striking him, but Kotun dodges. Jin is powerless as he watches Kotun brutally execute Taka. Jin is absolutely mortified. Sometime later, Jin escapes and finds his tools and weapons. He takes out all the straw hats in the fort. Yuna shows up and asks Jin where Taka is. Before Jin can explain himself, she runs over and finds his dead body. She is devastated. Yuna tries to put the blame on Jin out of grief. Before they can talk, more straw hats arrive. The two take them out. At Taka's grave, Yuna promises to help Jin take out Kotun and drive the Mongols out of Tsushima. Sometime later, Jin arrives at Lord Shimura's camp to begin the fight against the Mongols to take back Castle Shimura. Jin meets up with Shimura. They talk about the upcoming battle and how Shimura is about to adopt Jin. Shimura leads Jin and the army into battle. Jin, Shimura, and the army begin the battle. They fight for a long time and many lives are lost. As Jin encounters a Mongol general, he cuts his head off in front of Shimura. Shimura confronts Jin and tells him to fight his enemies with honor like a true samurai. They continue fighting and Jin gains control of a Hwacha. He takes out many Mongols. Jin and his army clear the way and head for the bridge that will take them to the castle. Shimura sends his men to run across the bridge to check if it's safe. The Mongols send out horses with explosive carriages and they blow up the bridge, killing the samurai as well. Shimura tells Jin and Yuna to gather more samurai while the bridge is fixed. Jin disagrees. He thinks the best approach is to poison the enemy. Jin and Shimura disagree on which approach to take and Jin storms off. At nighttime, Jin uses his grappling hook to get into the castle grounds. Once inside, he observes the grounds and chooses which route to take. Once Jin is in the main courtyard, he poisons the Mongols' milk bags. One by one, the Mongols all die. Jin storms inside, hoping to find the Khan, but encounters Ryuzo instead. The two duel once again. This time, Jin is victorious and kills Ryuzo with honor. Shimura and his men arrive at the castle. They see the poisoned Mongols and Shimura is furious. Shimura begs Jin to renounce the ghost. Jin defies Shimura by saying he is not his son but instead the ghost himself. Sometime later, we see Jin in a prison cell at Castle Shimura. After some time, Kenji shows up and rescues him by distracting the guards with sake. Jin makes it to the stables and finds his horse. As he tries escaping the camp, his horse gets shot with an arrow. Jin's horse gives up after a while and dies. Jin must make it to Yuna on foot. As Jin travels north up the island looking for Yuna, he comes across a devastated town. The people have been poisoned, and he believes it is his own poison that killed them, and that the Mongols stole his recipe. Yuna finds Jin and saves him after he is poisoned and nurses him back to health. Yuna has a plan to take over the nearby Jogaku Temple and make it their temporary base of operations. They fight through the Mongol presence at Jogaku Temple and claim it for themselves. Yuna instructs Jin to go find a man named Takashi, the leader of a bandit group. Takashi and Jin plan an attack on Fort Kamino Dake. Jin and the bandits attack Fort Kamino Dake and take it over. As they attack, all of Jin's allies show up to help him out. Once the fort is liberated, Takashi and his bandits are now part of Jin's army. Sometime later, Jin and Yuna go and scout Port Izumi, where Khotun and the Mongols are preparing to set sail for the mainland in their quest to take over Japan. Jin and Yuna scout the strengths and weaknesses of the port. They realize that a storm is coming in a few days, and they agree to attack when it comes. They also realize that the Mongol ships are filled with poison, so they agree that they must kill Khotun immediately. Before the final pieces are set for the attack on Port Izumi, Jin writes a letter for Shimura asking him to put aside their differences in order to kill Khotun. Jin wants the person delivered to him at Castle Shimura. Jin makes it to the edge of Castle Shimura. A flashback takes us to Jin's youth, where Shimura is comforting Jin and telling him that he will always be there for him. Jin realizes the parallel between that moment and his current reality. Back in the present, Jin realizes he can't walk in without raising suspicion. He decides to sneak in and be as quiet as possible and to place a note in Shimura's room. Jin sneaks into the castle on a merchant's cart and climbs up the castle walls. Once in Shimura's room, he puts a note on his bed and sneaks back out. Sometime later, Shimura finds the note and reads it. Shimura now knows Jin's plan, but we are still unaware if he will aid Jin. Sometime later, back at Jogaku Temple, Jin and Yuna talk about the big battle that is coming up. Jin and Yuna talk about how much they mean to one another, and the two share a heartfelt moment. The next day at Port Izumi, Jin and his allies come up with an attack plan. The battle begins and Jin and his army begin clearing out the Mongols. After lots of fighting, Jin finds a vantage point and begins looking for Khotun. At the same time, Shimura and his army arrive and start taking out Mongols as well. In the midst of the chaos, Jin confronts Khotun and an epic battle ensues. The two warriors fight, and after a while, Khotun looks down and out. Instead, he throws poison at Jin and runs away. Jin runs to the boat to confront Khotun and to stop him from escaping. After fighting all of Khotun's guards, Jin finally gets the upper hand on the Khan. The Khan begs for Jin to kill him, and Jin kills him with honor. The Mongol forces are now crippled. Afterwards, Jin meets up with Yuna. Before being able to celebrate their victory, Yuna tells Jin that Shimura wants to meet him under the red tree. Jin travels to his hometown and meets with Shimura. Shimura informs Jin that the shogun has stripped Jin of his samurai title and has banned him as a traitor. Jin and Shimura ride to the Sakai family grave. The two pay their respects. Shimura tells Jin that the shogun has ordered him to kill Jin. The two take a moment to share their last memories with one another before they inevitably fight one another. Jin has another flashback to when he was young at the same location. It is after his parents died and Shimura vowed to raise him as his own son. The uncle and the nephew duel in the final battle of this game. Shimura tries his best to put up a fight, but Jin is too skilled and knocks him down. The game gives us two possible endings, either kill Shimura or spare Shimura. Choosing to spare Shimura, Jin tells his uncle that he no longer has any honor, and he cannot give Shimura the samurai death he deserves. Jin walks away with an unknown future awaiting him. And that, my friends, is Ghost of Tsushima explained in 19 minutes or less.